Hey guys, today's question is check if array pairs are divisible. In this question, we are given with an array and an integer k, and we have to determine if we can divide array in such a way that every pair has a that sum of every pair is divisible by k. For example, in this example, AR is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 6, 7, 8, 9, and k is 5. So we take pairs in such a way that these pairs are divisible, that the sum of the values in the pairs are divisible by k. So 1 plus 9 is 10, which is divisible by k, 2 plus 8 is 10, 3 plus 7 is 10, 4 plus 6 is 10, and 5 plus 10 is 15. So we got all the elements in such a way that these pairs add up to a value that is divisible by k. And in this example also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we can take 1 and 6, which is 7, 1 plus 6 is 7, divisible by 7, and 2 and 5, which is 7, divisible by 7, and 3 and 4 divisible by 7 also. And in the last case, we can't find a way so that these elements are divisible by 10. For example, we can take uh, 5 and 4 and 6, which are divisible by 10, but after that we can't take any value. We can't take any value with 3 which that after adding divisible by 10 or by 2 or 1. So in this case, return false. Also, the constraints are a little bigger, so the value of error I is not only positive, it can be negative also. So what can be the simple approach is to find the remainder. For example, in this example, when we got 1, the remainder is 1. Okay, so if we get remainder 4, that means no, we will count the remainder. So we will count the number of elements that have remainder 1 and the number of elements that have remainder 4. If these elements are equal, then the array can be divided in the pairs after checking the rest elements. For example, if there are 2 1s and 3 and 2 4s, okay, so that means we can add 1 plus 4 and then 1 plus 4 again and make 2 pairs. And not only 4, if we have 1 and let's say we have 14, okay, so remainder of 1 is 1 and remainder of 14 is 4, so we can add 1 and 14 to get remainder, to get them to divisible by k, as 15 is divisible by k. So what we can simply do is we will make another vector that will store the frequency of how many times a remainder value is appeared, you know. So we will make a vector of size k. After that, we will just store the remainder and we will run a loop from left and right from the remainder 1 and remainder k minus 1, which will be the size minus 1, uh, simply like the loop we use for palindrome checking in the string. Okay, so we will run a while loop and increment I and decrement j and check the values are equal or not. And one other important things, as the values can be negative also. So to get the remainder of the negative values in positive terms, what we can simply do is we will first find the remainder and just simply subtract it by k. For example, if we have k equals to 10 and suppose the element is minus 3, okay, so if the element is minus 3, you will notice we have to add 13. Okay, if element is minus 3, we have to add 13 to get it divisible by k, or we have to add 3. Okay, so if element is minus 3, the remainder is 3, the remainder is 7 itself, because adding 7 and 3 adds up to 10. Okay, so when we find the remainder of 3, let's say, to finding the remainder of minus 3, first we will convert minus 3 into positive number, which is 3, and the remainder of 3 will be 3. Okay, so after that, as it was a negative number, so we will subtract it by k. Okay, so 10 minus 3 will be 7, and then we get the remainder in the positive terms. You can do a simple dry run for negative values to check, to understand it well. Okay, let's just simply code for that. First, we will take a vector to store the values. You can also use an ordered map, but I am using a vector, let's say of k size and elements 0 currently. After this, as we discussed, we will iterate over this array and increment the values of in the remainder array. Okay, so for int I equals 0, I less than arr dot size I plus. Now there are two cases. If the number is less than 0, which is negative, then we have to do some different operation, and in the else case do some different operations. So first write if the element is negative. So error I is if it is less than 0. What do we do? First we'll find the element. Let's say we'll first convert the element into positive because we can't find the remainder by negative value. So element equals to minus of error I. After that we will find the modulus. Element equals to element modulo k. Now after this, one other thing, for example, if you find a remainder of let's say minus 5 and k is 5, so if you convert minus 5 into positive, it will be 5 and the remainder will be 0. And now if we write that condition which we were discussing, remainder of k minus element plus plus, but the index of remainder array is only between 0 to 4. So k minus element will be 5 minus 0, which is 5. So we can't do that in this case. So if element is not equal to 0, only that time we will do, because if element is equal to 0, it is already divisible by k. Okay. So element not equal to 0, we will do remainder k minus element as we discussed before plus plus. So this will be correct remainder in the positive format for our requirement. In the else case, if the element is positive, it is very simple. Simply take element equals to current element, which is error I, and simply increment the value in the remainder array, which will be element modulo k. Okay. Now, as we discussed, we will run a loop like we do in the palindrome checking in the string. So, for example, if k is 5, we have to check the remainder of values 1 and 4. If there are n remainder values 1, then there should be n remainder values at index 4, because 1 plus 4 adds up to 5, which is 0 4 5. Okay, so we will take a integer value, let's say I, which is at 1 first index, and the second value j equals to the last index, which is k minus 1. Okay, now simply while I less than j, we will check the values. So if I is 1, let's say k was 5. If I is 1, j will be 4. This is our requirement. If I is 2, j will be 3, because we are incrementing I after every operation and decrementing j. So we will simply write if remainder of I, if the elements are different, the frequency of remainder of those indexes are different, then we will simply return false. Okay, and if that's not the case, we will increment I and decrement j. Now one last thing, let's say if the element was 6, if the k was 6 and elements are, and let's say the array will be 0 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, so when we reach the index 3, I will be at 3 and j will also at 3, and you will notice there should be even number of elements, so that that element is divisible by k. For example, if there are 3 elements of remainder 3 and value of k was 6, let's say, then 3 plus 3 we can make a pair 6, but the rest 3, the other 3 will be remained. Okay, so there should be n number of elements at the n by 2 index, so that it is divisible by k, so that we can, sorry, there should be even number of elements so that we can partition them in the different pairs. So what we will write in the last case, if I double equals to j, okay, if the number of elements at that index are even, then we are fine, otherwise we will return false. If remainder minus 2 not equals to 0, then we return false. Okay, and after the whole execution, if we will simply return true, because we can't find any value that is false. Okay, let's simply run this. I forgot to add as colon 917. Sorry. Okay, let's run again. Redefinition of I. sorry, this part was after that for loop. Some indentation errors, and this while loop ends here, if ends here, so it's extra. Okay, now it's fine. Let's run again. Okay, let's submit. So the code is accepted. Thank you for watching.